Welcome back to African Cancer Research Corner. Next segment today is going to focus on continuing our consortium science, and today we have Dr. Mohammed Jalloh. He's going to be talking to us about the MADCap consortium. Dr. Jalloh, could you please introduce yourself and your consortium to our audience?
Thank you. I'm Dr. Mohammed Jalloh. I'm a urologist from Senegal and investigator in the Man of African Descent Carcinoma of the Prostate MADCap Consortium.
Great. So it's going to be really interesting today because Dr. Jalloh also speaks French. And so at Aortic, we are, trying as best as possible to be able to present our programs in multiple languages. So I'm going to ask Dr. Jalloh to begin by answering the questions that I asked him in English, and then briefly summarize in French as well. So we'll see how that goes. So can you tell us more about your consortium, the MADCap consortium?
Yeah, the Man of African Descent Carcinoma of Prostate, MADCap, was created in 2007. But prior to that, there used to be a twin collaboration between centers in Africa and in the US. And the idea of merging all these twin collaboration into one big collaboration arose, and then it was created in 2007. This consortium put together researchers from Africa and the US and even the UK with interest in prostate cancer in African descent. So, and we are able to put together all these resources in this consortium called MADCap.
Okay, so a follow-up questions about, so from what I'm hearing from you is a global consortium, you do have a presence in Africa, but how many, do you know which countries that you are represented in Africa, since this show is about Africa?
Yeah, currently our activity are focused in Senegal, Nigeria, Ghana, and South Africa. But we have also collaboration in Botswana, in Tanzania, and shortly in Cote d'Ivoire as well. So these are the major countries.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So I'm going to go to the next question, and then you can sort of summarize in French as well. So why the focus in Africa? Why is this, from what I know about the background of the MADCap, it originated from the United States. So why is it important to focus in Africa?
You mentioned the United States, which is very important because that's where the aggressiveness and the high incidence of prostate cancer was found to be in Black male. So it has been a public health concern, a disparity discovery, finding that one race is really concerned with this cancer. And furthermore, data show that it's about the same in the Caribbean. We lack data in Africa because of limited tumor registries. But then the idea was, if we have a more aggressive cancer in Black male in the US and in the Caribbean, maybe the answer should be found coming back to Africa, which is the root of Black people. So the idea of going back to Africa and trying to find what is going on both in epidemiology and genetic aspect could inform public health globally, because then we'll have answers to all these questions. So that's why the idea of having this collaboration started at the time.
Very well said. So I'm going to ask you to attempt to summarize that for our francophone countries.
Ok, je suis Dr. Mohammed Jalloh, je suis urologue au Sénégal et je suis investigateur dans le consortium Man of African Descent Carcinoma of Prostate, encore appelé MADCap, c'est-à-dire c'est un consortium qui s'intéresse au cancer de la prostate chez les hommes d'ascendance noire. Donc ce consortium a été précédé par des collaborations sous forme de collaboration entre un centre africain et un centre aux États-Unis. Et toutes ces collaborations s'intéressaient au cancer de la prostate dans le sens de comprendre pourquoi ce cancer est plus fréquent et plus agressif chez les noirs. Ensuite, l'idée de fusionner toutes ces collaborations a été née a été généré et abouti à la création de ce consortium MADCap. Et la raison pour laquelle ce consortium est important, c'est parce que on s'est rendu compte qu'aux États-Unis et aux Caraïbes, le cancer de la prostate est très fréquent et très agressif chez les Noirs. Et donc, puisque l'origine des Noirs est en Afrique, il était intéressant d'essayer de voir quels sont les éléments qui expliquent ces caractéristiques de ce cancer, afin de pouvoir informer la santé publique sur le plan de façon beaucoup plus globale.
Merci. Did I say it right? I think that's the only thing I understand. Thank you. Okay, so within the past 10 years, what are some of the key research findings by the MADCap Consortium?
Yeah, it is important to note that before these past 10 years, there have been some findings both in Senegal, in Ghana, in Nigeria, and even in South Africa, showing that at the baseline, some alleles of associated with aggressiveness of prostate cancer were commonest in African population compared to the Caucasian, US, and Asian. So that's why we had a grant that is funded by the NCI of the NIH, which is called UO1 grant. It is important to note that this grant has the NCI as stakeholder, meaning that they are not only funding, they're also participating in the research. And the idea of this consortium was to be able to have a bigger sample size because many countries were involved, many centers were involved, and we actually have one center in Senegal, 2 centers in Nigeria, 2 in Ghana, and 2 in South Africa, generating data. And we were able to put this grant that allowed us to do a case control study, meaning that men above the age of 30 and most recently 40 years were accrued, whether they are cancer patients or controls. And we have epidemiological data, clinical data, and we also, more importantly, have blood sample that is designed to do whole genome sequencing, because we want to look at alleles that are believed to be associated with prostate cancer, but we also want to discover other alleles in this population. And the other important thing is also we have all this genotyping is performed within Africa. So a good example of knowledge and technology transfer. All centers are able to do DNA extraction, and all the DNA are shipped to a center called Genomic and Proteomic Center in South Africa, CPGR, and that's where we are. So far we are able to have more than 5,000 accrued population, including clinical data, epidemiological data, but also blood sample and DNA to be able to move forward. So currently we have all this data. We just finished the 5th year of our grant, and we have 1 year no-cost extension due to the COVID to be able to complete our aim. So I'm sure there will be more to come very shortly with all these materials that we have.
Yeah, that definitely is a lot of data. One of the things that you said that I think we need to key in is the idea that building the capacity in Africa is so important, and making sure the majority of the work is also being done, if not all the work is being done in Africa. Can you talk a little bit about that, about why it is so important to build the capacity in Africa, and also to be able to make sure that Africans are able to do all this analysis rather than just collecting the data?
Yeah, that gives me the opportunity to say something that is important to me. I've never been that comfortable in collaboration. So the idea was that we really collaborate. It's a win-win collaboration. We organized the consortium in working groups. We have many different working groups, and all working groups have a co-chair in Africa and a co-chair in the US or in the UK. The idea is that all the ideas should come from the working groups. All the discussions are commonly done with all the stakeholders. And we have a group for data element working group. We have a biospecimen working group. We have genotyping working group. We have clinical working group. We have all sort of groups. And in each of these groups, we have to discuss and share the data, share the ideas, and be able to work properly. And one of the things we also have, one of the key working group I have to mention here is the project management working group. We have been able to demonstrate that it is possible to conduct research in Africa with a full involvement of African researchers in the among the different centers, and there are already publications that are made to describe all these achievements in this part. The other key issue is that in the past there used to be a shipment of data, shipment of biospecimen toward the US, and there have been some situation where there is a limited understanding or control on what is being done. This town, there was a full engagement of making sure that all the process is done in Africa. And it is important, and it doesn't mean that we are fully autonomous. There are very important expertise that we dearly value coming from the US, coming from the UK and other part of the world. But there was a serious and a very important accompaniment that allowed us all through training, through videos, to be able to do the DNA extraction and finally to do the genotyping in South Africa. And so I think this is very important because in this we have knowledge sharing, we have technology transfer, we have fair research, and all what we are doing is approved by all the countries' respective ethical committees and the NIH ethical committees. So it's really very important for us. And I think that the way things should be done, and I expect that it's not going to be only prostate cancer, it will be in other cancers and even research beyond cancers.
Very well said, and I absolutely agree with you. One of the things that you mentioned is the idea that, you know, currently majority of the genotyping are done in South Africa. Are there plans to have some of these expertise also go into, you know, other parts of Africa, like maybe West Africa and East Africa?
Yeah, and I remember the CPGR colleague visited some centers in Dakar where the expertise exists, and we are thinking of how to relocate all these activities in order to allow everybody be able to do it, because that's the only way we can disseminate research in terms of generation, in terms of practice, and also in terms of making sure that all the stakeholders play a real part in it.
Very important, very important. So what do you see as, if you were to name one impact that your consortium has made, what do you see as the greatest impact of your consortium to the science of prostate cancer disparities in Africa?
So I first of all learned one key word: teamwork. There is nothing that can be achieved without the teamwork. Like our colleague from the US could not do it alone. And for us, before this consortium and all this twin collaboration, we could not imagine to reach this level. So the real impact is that we have now, we could dream of it, but now we have the conviction that we can achieve real big goals if we work together. And the borders have been pushed away. We know that giant things can be done in Africa. All we need is to find the resources, to generate the ideas first, find the resources, and the resources are there. People are wanting collaboration. People are wanting to be part of big things, and that's how we can work together and move forward. So it's this sense of confidence that big things can be achieved in our beloved Africa.
Very well said, Dr. Jalloh. And I want to take, use what you have said perfectly well to plug in the African Organizations for Research and Training in Cancer, which is why, you know, AOTIC is really pushing towards providing the opportunity and providing, you know, whether it's a virtual space or whether it's during our conferences, for people who are interested in collaborating with Africans to come and to partner, because the teamwork is really, really very important. I want you to summarize in about a minute or a minute and a half what you have said about your the contributions of the MADCap to Africa in French.
Ok, donc le consortium MADCap est un consortium, comme je viens de le dire, qui a été le fruit d'une fusion entre beaucoup de collaborations entre des centres d'Afrique et des États-Unis et de l'Angleterre par moment, et qui a permis de mettre en présence toutes les ressources nécessaires pour faire une recherche de grande envergure. Donc, cette recherche a permis, avec le financement de la NIH, de la NCI, National Cancer Institute des États-Unis, qui est la plus grande institution mondiale qui s'occupe du cancer, et qui a fait un financement, mais ils ne se sont pas limités au financement. La NCI est même partie prenante à cette recherche. Et cette recherche a permis de mettre en commun des ressources dans les différentes parties qui participent, des différents centres, des différents pays qui participent à cette recherche, qui nous a permis aujourd'hui d'avoir des données importantes. Ces données sont des données épidémiologiques, des données cliniques, mais également du matériel pour pouvoir le génotypage. Et en l'occurrence, ici, il s'agit de l'étude pangénomique qui permet le séquençage de tout le génome humain. Et donc, à ce jour, on a plus de 5000 échantillons et toutes ces études ont été réalisées avec la parfaite approbation des comités d'éthique nationaux des différents pays, ce qui nous permet d'avoir réellement du matériel qui nous permettra de comprendre de façon vraiment importante le cancer de la prostate dans ses aspects génétiques, épidémiologiques. Et ça aura un impact sur le plan mondial puisqu'il s'agit ici d'un cancer qui a une forte connotation de disparité puisqu'il affecte les Noirs de façon disproportionnée avec une agressivité très importante. Mais également, ce qui est important de souligner dans ce consortium, c'est le fait que ce travail a été fait en parfaite équité. On est un groupe avec des sous-groupes et dans chaque sous-groupe, on a un co-dirigeant africain, un co-dirigeant américain ou bien européen, et ce qui nous permet de focaliser tous les intérêts à travers ces groupes. On a des groupes sur le management des projets, on a un groupe sur les biospécimens, un groupe sur les aspects cliniques, un groupe sur les aspects génétiques, et tous ces groupes travaillent, font leur animation, ce qui permet au groupe globalement de pouvoir avancer. L'autre chose qui est importante, c'est que c'est vraiment des travaux qui sont délibérés avec l'ensemble du groupe, qui nous permettent aujourd'hui de prendre des décisions qui reflètent vraiment le travail de chacun. Et donc, c'est important de comprendre également que tout le travail se fait entièrement en Afrique, avec bien sûr l'expertise de nos collègues qui viennent des États-Unis, qui viennent de l'Europe, etc. Et ça, c'est un exemple de partenariat gagnant-gagnant. Et on n'a à aucun moment eu l'impression d'une suprématie, mais plutôt on a la conviction que c'est un travail qui se fait en parfaite collaboration. Et c'est ce qui nous permet, très certainement bientôt nous le verrons, d'accomplir des pas de géants. Mais ces pas de géants ne devraient pas se limiter seulement au cancer de la prostate. Ils vont également faire des tâches d'huile vers d'autres cancers. On a d'autres exemples de cancers qui sont importants et même d'autres domaines de la santé qui ne sont pas le cancer. Et l'un des sous-groupes qui est particulièrement important pour nous, c'est le groupe du project management, qui nous montre aujourd'hui qu'il est possible de mettre en place des collaborations, des gestions de projets qui peuvent marcher en Afrique. Donc, hier, on pouvait penser que c'est très difficile de faire la recherche en Afrique de ce niveau, mais aujourd'hui, on est parfaitement conscient que tout est possible. Il suffit de générer les bonnes idées, de trouver les ressources, et elles ne manquent pas, de mettre tout le monde ensemble et on peut effectivement réaliser de grandes choses.
Thank you. Very well said. So the next question is talking about what the consortium is currently doing in Africa now. I know you mentioned one of your studies is currently in a no-cost extension, most because of the COVID-19 the impact of COVID-19, which means you're continuing data collection for about 1 more year. What are some other consortium research activities that you have in Africa?
Yeah, one of the things, because we're talking about whole genome sequencing, we are not only focusing on the prostate cancer. Actually, we are looking at other disease traits. And that is why we have what we call the BMI working group, body mass index working group. We are about shortly submitting a paper describing the BMI, the obesity characteristic. We know that there are interaction between obesity, cholesterol, and prostate cancer. But we also have many other ideas. We'll be looking about the nutrition, which is also important because nutrition we know has a impact. And I think with your help, we'll be looking about behavioral science as well. I know you are expert in this field.
Happy to collaborate.
So we have all these ideas, but we are not limited to that. We are also submitting grant to keep the process working because we don't want. And this no-cost extension give us the opportunity to keep doing the work, increasing our sample size, and showing that we can find alternative to keep going, because it was the first push is already made, and we believe we will not be stopping here. And truly, all the ideas are welcome. The working groups are working hard. We're generating new ideas in order to keep the process going and to be novel in terms of science, in terms of creativity, and in terms of all these things we'll be hearing about soon.
Well said. So, you know, one of the things that is a huge barrier, as you most probably know very well, is the biomedical research workforce in Africa is very critical, right? And sometimes the problem in Africa, the problem for the science forward in Africa has to do with having the appropriate scientific workforce. What are some of the achievements of your consortium in this area, being able to increase the biomedical research workforce? And I know you mentioned a little bit, you know, based on the team science and how you're pulling group together, but are there specific things that your consortium is doing to be able to increase the biomedical research workforce?
Yeah, there is a two specific things, and that's the opportunity for us to thank our collaborators in the US and to insist about Dr. Timothy Rebeck, to whom we'll be collaborating for about 20 years now. So there was a strong desire, a strong push to make sure that we're talking the same language. We all start with the knowledge and technology transfer. Yeah. And our collaborator from South Africa, from CPGR, and our collaborator from the US made sure, for example, to be more specific, that the DNA extraction was done properly with the same protocol, with the same reagent. And for that, they had to come to each center and train the biologists there, the lab workers, to make sure that we've been able to do the DNA extraction properly. And after each DNA extraction, the quality control is conducted. We choose the appropriate reagent, the appropriate the technologies to be able to make sure that people are doing it properly. And to be more precise, for Senegal in particular, the lab that is doing the DNA extraction were not specialized in cancer at the beginning. They were more doing HIV, hepatitis, typing. They were able to ship to these blood samples and mouse tick swab to be able to do the same thing for prostate cancer, just to give you an example. Okay. The other thing is that there are movies on all the steps that we do to do the DNA, the process, all the process, and we have all of those materials in our common website that we use to do training, to do update, etc. And also the other example is CPGR. I know they're specialized in genomic and proteomic studies, but there had to be some protocol that were validated, and all attention were made to make sure that people were doing the thing the right way to ensure that we're doing it well. Another specific thing has to do with the pathology. We did a round robin recently, putting together all the pathologists and sharing slides and to have comparative reading. And this also will be generated as a paper soon, and we'll be publishing all this data to make sure that we're talking the same language. And the other thing, and this comes from the clinical working group, is also to make sure that patients are diagnosed the same way, the same protocol are applied, and this is something that will be helpful in the future if we want to have our population be comparable both in diagnosis and in management, which means that the only differences that we'll be finding will be biological differences, and that will be very important. And that reminds me also the studies you and I and other colleagues did to create common variables that are validated, that can be used in the future for anyone who is interested in doing prostate cancer research in men of African. So, and also have a very important group that ensure that we have the training, we have all the requirement that allow us to do the thing the right way.
Yeah, very well said. So I want to go back, not really about the consortium now. I mean, you've been somebody who has been working as a scientist in Africa. So there are some unique things that you know, that are still barriers to elevating cancer science in Africa. Can you mention like a couple of these and how you have been able to overcome these barriers?
Yeah, there is one specific that is peculiar to clinician, and I'm one of them. That's the protected time for research. That is a big problem. So we have to find ourselves working all the time, and that's not always easy. And this can be overcome by having project managers and people to complete the practical part of it, and training them to be able to do it. So the project time is very important, because in all our centers, the workload is so high, so the resources are so limited, and that is something very important.
Yeah.
The other barrier is when it comes to pathology. We all know that pathology is, and you were among those who highlighted it in your publication, showing that not only do we lack pathologists, but we lack specialized pathology when it comes to an organ or a subspecialty. So this is also important, and this can be fixed with telepathology, with online rereading, and the round robin that we try to do can be a baseline to show how this can be made practical. I can add one third one is the funding for research. This is very important. We still in countries where the per capita part of spending to health is very low, to do with malnutrition. We have the COVID coming very hard sometimes. The competing funding field make it very difficult sometimes. So funding is a key issue.
Yeah, and you're bringing up very important aspects. So I hope we can have you back to be able to talk about these issues, because I think it's very important when you're talking about cancer research in Africa that you know, and you want clinicians to also be clinician scientists, because they bring so much expertise into some of this science. So we need to be able to explore you know, some of those barriers and how best to overcome the barriers. So we're wrapping up now, but I want to ask you, are you a member of AORTIC?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so what are some of the benefits that you've gotten from being a member of AORTIC?
Number one is to be part of this great family, and I haven't missed any single AORTIC conference the past decades. And is to find the generosity in terms of science, and that include you guys from the US, and you particularly, and many others are there from Europe, and to find these people ready to help, ready to collaborate. That is very, very important, and that is very reassuring. And I think most of what we're doing laid ground and were strengthened by the effort that are done in AORTIC. And it's a very big family, and it's a continental thing, which means that anyone who wants to be supportive can do it through AORTIC. The other thing that I also comment is the Big Cat, and any other initiative that can help young researchers to chime in and to be encouraged to do research. And I can also add that nothing is stupid. All the ideas are welcome. And that's only once you start doing things that you realize that you can do more, then you can move forward, and then gradually, I think there is a trend toward a homogenization of all the level of research worldwide. And no one can do a research for a developing country anymore. It's only research. It's only a matter of finding the resources, and the resources are there. Funding exists, good hearts exist, good human resources exist. It's only going to erotic, going out, reaching out to good people and be able to be connected and do great things.
Thank you. I promise you, I didn't pay Dr. Jalloh to give us such a great review of the Aortic organization. So is there anything else you would like to share about your consortium that you haven't talked about?
Just to pray that this dynamic keep moving, and I would like to thank you also for this initiative that you have to reach out, to try to highlight what is being done and encourage people. And I think that's something that is innovating. And I'm sure there are many initiatives that all the people, including you in the research committee, that you are nurturing. And I think all these things, when they burst out, will help us. So keep going and keep pushing it forward, and let's push each other forward. And I think together we can achieve great things.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask you to attempt to summarize in 2 minutes or less what you talked about in the past 5 minutes.
Donc le consortium MADCap vient de finir 5 ans, les 5 ans qu'il y était imparti pour mener la recherche, mais on vient d'avoir une extension d'une année sans financement, ceci à cause du Covid, pour nous permettre d'atteindre les objectifs en termes de taille d'échantillon que nous nous étions fixés. Donc, ce consortium nous a permis de comprendre que la recherche est possible en Afrique. Les limites peuvent être repoussées parce que les ressources existent. Quand je dis ressources, il y a les ressources en termes de financement, il y a les ressources humaines également. Donc, nous avons pu comprendre qu'à travers la formation et le partenariat, il est possible d'améliorer les plateaux techniques. Il est possible d'améliorer les niveaux de compétences pour atteindre des objectifs précis. Et les exemples sont nombreux. Dans notre consortium, on a pu identifier les limites, et je vais donner quelques exemples. Lorsqu'il fallait faire l'extraction de l'ADN, certains centres ne pouvaient pas le faire. Il a fallu qu'avec le consortium, avec nos partenaires d'Afrique du Sud, du CPGR, qu'il y ait une visite de tous les sites et de faire une formation sur site pour s'assurer que les protocoles peuvent être respectés. Et c'est ce qui a été le cas. Et aujourd'hui, tous les centres arrivent à faire l'extraction d'ADN de façon parfaite. Et j'en veux pour preuve notre centre à Dakar, qui initialement était plus orienté vers les HIV et les hépatites, et ces centres ont pu se reconvertir et parfaitement faire l'extraction d'ADN dans le cas du cancer de la prostate. Nul doute que ce sera le cas pour d'autres spécialités également. Donc, nous avons pu travailler avec des sous-groupes, chacun essayant d'être créatif, chacun essayant de pousser les limites pour qu'on puisse graduellement avancer. Initialement, nous nous étions fixés comme principal objectif d'étudier le cancer de la prostate, mais puisqu'il s'agit d'études pangénomiques, il sera possible avec nos données de pouvoir faire d'autres études qui concernent d'autres maladies, l'obésité, l'hypertension artérielle et beaucoup d'autres traits, puisque le matériel existe déjà. Donc, cette étude nous a permis de comprendre qu'il n'y a pas de limite, on peut aller aussi loin qu'on le peut. Et aujourd'hui, nous avons l'AORTIC, en français c'est l'OAREC, l'Organisation africaine pour la recherche et la formation sur les cancers, qui aujourd'hui est un pilier incontournable, qui nous permet d'avoir des occasions d'échange entre nous Africains avec des chercheurs et des participants d'autres pays aujourd'hui qui nous permettent de trouver les réponses à nos questions dans le sens de la collaboration. Et ce n'est pas les ressources qui manquent, les gens sont présents avec leur expertise, ils sont prêts à les donner. Donc, c'est une occasion pour encourager tout le monde à rallier l'aortique puisque ça se passe là-bas. C'est une institution continentale et donc quiconque vient en Afrique pour faire la recherche sur les cancers va s'approcher de l'aortique et c'est extrêmement important. Donc, pour dire qu'aujourd'hui, nous avons commencé un travail qui est important, qui ne va pas s'arrêter, puisque nous avons soumis beaucoup d'autres grants qui nous permettront d'aller un peu de l'avant dans notre recherche et de pouvoir approcher beaucoup d'autres centres. Tout ça nous permettra d'avoir des réponses à beaucoup de questions. Donc, voilà. Donc, c'est en résumé, voilà ce qu'on pouvait dire.
Thank you. Wow, what a treat to have you, somebody who is bilingual and able to communicate absolutely very well and wonderful. It is such a treat to have you with us, Dr. Mohammed Jalloh. You're actually one of the first set of scientists that we're going to be interviewing for the aortic YouTube channel. So this is pretty exciting. I hope you will be back. And I promise you the next time you're going to be back, I'm going to find somebody who can interview you in French. It's not going to be me. I'm beyond the learning curve to learn French. So promise us you're going to be back. That would be great.
I will definitely.
Definitely. I foresee you're going to be one of our regulars on this channel because you're doing the work and we're so proud of you. We're so proud of your work and we're very proud of what MADCap is doing in Africa. So thank you so much for taking the time and, please pass on the thanks to your consortium for elevating prostate cancer science in Africa and for all the scientific contributions to Africa. We thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.